I'm Jude, I'm a queer man in my mid-30s, and in an attempt to remind myself that life really actually is worth living, I've bought a house in the middle of nowhere and moved to the Scottish countryside. Welcome to the cottage tour. I thought I'd film a little disclaimer before I got started with the tour. First thing, lots of people asked how old the cottage is. I don't really know. The estate agent said they thought it was about 150 years old, but I feel like it's a bit older than that. If anyone has any idea of the best way of going about looking up property histories in Scotland, I would love some suggestions so I can do a little bit of research. Also, I've only lived here for 2 weeks. It needs quite a lot of work, and I've still got quite a lot of unpacking and things to do, but I thought I would share it with you nonetheless. As you come through the front door, you enter this little hallway space here. It's not very big and there isn't really much I can do with the space. It's got things like the consumer unit for the electricity. It's also got a smoke alarm, which, judging by the colour of the plastic, has been here for years and I probably need to replace because it doesn't look like it's in line with the Scottish guidelines. I do really like the front door. It's pretty old and I don't know how much heat it will keep out in the winter, so I might have to put a curtain over it, but it lets in quite a lot of light, which is definitely needed in this house. On the left, as you come in through the front door, is the living room. I was really worried that my furniture wouldn't fit in here, and so were the removal guys, but they managed to get both of the sofas in through the front door, which was quite impressive. My favourite thing about this room is being able to have both of my sofas in the same room. It's really great when you have visitors and it just makes the room feel cozier. It's also really good to have an open fire as a secondary heat source during the winter, and the fire also has a back boiler so it will heat the hot water, which will be really useful. At some point I would like a wood burning stove, but not until the renovations are finished. There's not a lot of wall space in this room. There are 5 doors leading off here and the window. There's plenty of space for all of the artwork I wanted to hang up, and I don't have a TV because I don't really watch TV, so that wasn't an issue for me, but I feel like it might be an issue for some people. This corner has a built-in bookshelf, which I'm using to store some of my favourite books and some of my blanket collection. Most of these, apart from the black and white quilt, were handmade by either me or my mum, so it's a nice reminder to have those there for the winter. One of the doors leading off of the living room goes into this little dining room space. It was used by the previous owners as a dining room and it was marked on the floor plan as a dining room, but it's just me. I don't really need a dining room. One of my friends helped me move house and she lightly mocked me for my supply of canned goods and bottles of water. But I have listened to enough homesteading podcasts and read enough post-apocalyptic novels to know that having a little bit of a supply is never a bad thing. And also, living out in the countryside, I'm about 25 minutes drive from the nearest supermarket. So in the winter, if anything happens and the road gets cut off due to bad weather or storms or trees falling, then I might not be able to get to the shops. So it's useful to have. So that's what this room is being used for. It's not just storing tin food, it's also storing some of my recipe book collection and lots of things that belonged to my mum and dad and just won't get used on an everyday basis. The understairs cupboard also opens into the living room. At the moment, it is just storage for standard understairs cupboard things. The Hoover, extra kitchen supplies, my bottled water collection, and my collection of cardboard that I need to shred for the compost. On the other side of the living room, we have the kitchen. The kitchen and bathroom in this house are built into a little lean-to extension, and they're very of their time. I love the sliding glass cabinet above the sink. The sink unit itself is functional. The washing machine is a little bit too big for the gap, and it makes an alarming squealing sound every time it does a spin cycle, but it gets the job done. The previous owners had a dishwasher under the sink and their washing machine was in this area here, but it left a very tight space to stand in and do the washing up, which is already not my favourite job to do. So I opened that space up a little bit by taking out the dishwasher. This cupboard here has the immersion heater for the hot water. I have no idea how old this is, and it is very different from the combi boiler that I am used to. But the hot water is working now. I did panic when I moved in that it wasn't, but there was an extra switch that I had to flick. This tall cupboard houses the water pump and UV water filter. The cottage doesn't have mains water. It shares a well with 5 other properties. So the water is pumped up and filtered with a UV water filter that lives in this cupboard. I had to replace the alarm panel for it just after moving in, so now I know a little bit more about how it works. My favourite thing about this room is probably how much light it gets. I also really like the colour. And my least favourite thing about it is the hot water pressure, but it gets the job done eventually. As you come through the kitchen, you get to this little back door area. This little built-in rack is great extra storage. I'm just hanging some garlic that I grew last year that I'm planning on using as seed garlic for this winter in the window here, because who doesn't use garlic as decor? Next up, we have the bathroom, which, unlike my previous bathroom, has a nice big window. It's really nice to have a bathroom with natural light in. Eventually, I'll have more of my houseplant collection living in here. It's a pretty small bathroom. The best thing that can be said about the shower is it's functional. The bath is old style enamel and it's pretty discoloured. It's also too short to lie down in, and I am not a tall man. As one full hot water tank only fills it about 1/3 of the way, it's not going to be getting a lot of use. If I was planning on keeping the layout of the cottage the same, I would probably take the bath out and replace it with a bigger, more powerful walk-in shower, but I'm not going to, so there's no point. And outside the bathroom, we have the back door, which leads back out on to the patio. At the opposite end of the hallway to the living room, we have arguably the most questionable room of the house, which is the primary bedroom. It's probably the worst room in the cottage. I wanted to capture it before I did anything to perk it up so you can see what I'm working with. It currently doesn't have any carpet or flooring apart from a chipboard kind of subfloor. The carpet in here was a patchwork of stained pieces and doormats just laid across the floor, so I pulled it all up. There's some very interesting wiring and lovely wood chip wallpaper, along with an interesting ceiling texture that looks remarkably similar to how my mum used to ice her Christmas cakes. As bedrooms go, it's quite a good size, I guess. I had built-in wardrobes at my last house, which is why I still have suitcases and boxes in here that need unpacking. And I am going to be doing some work on this room to make it a little bit cozier until I get around to renovating. Onto the upstairs, which is reached by this quite tight winding staircase. The stair treads are pretty narrow, which made carrying all the boxes upstairs during the moving in process pretty interesting. The landing space is a pretty bright area thanks to the skylight, and it's a good home for the rest of my houseplant collection. The previous owners built these kind of pull-out boxes for extra storage up here. There are two almost identical attic rooms up here. This one is being used as a guest room. The ceilings are incredibly low. You can only stand upright in the centre of the room. I have knocked my head on these walls many times already. It's a pretty small space, but it's fine just for visitors. Like any old house, there's an assortment of mysterious stains and some interesting cracks in the walls that I'm not too worried about in the short term. The opposite room is almost identical. It's currently being used as storage. There's still quite a few boxes to unpack and things to find homes for. It's mainly books, and I have quite a lot of knitwear and yarn and fibre arts equipment that I need to find homes for. When I finished organising the box chaos, I'm probably going to need to put another bed in here so that my friends with children have somewhere to put their kids when they visit. I have lots of big long-term renovation plans for the cottage, which I will get into in another video, probably when I have reapplied for planning permission and made some progress with that. But I'm having to kind of rein myself in a little bit from starting loads of short-term projects that will cost time and energy and money, and that I don't want to necessarily spend on things that will eventually be ripped out and replaced. That being said, I am going to perk up my bedroom a little bit. I'm going to repaint it and make it a little bit cozier, and I might put a carpet in to make it a bit warmer. I know on social media a lot of renovation projects look really quick. This one will definitely not be. It's quite a big project. I have never undertaken a big project like this before. And I will talk about all of my skills and lack thereof and experience at a later date. But I definitely don't have a family full of tradespeople. I don't have trades experience. So it's gonna be a big job, and it's probably gonna be a fairly expensive one. So I will need you to spread that out. It definitely won't all be done in the next 6 months. It probably won't even be started in the next 6 months. So there's that. So in the meantime, I kind of want the house to be a little bit cozier and a little bit more like home. And I've done quite a good job so far. It's amazing how easy it is to make a house a home when you already have loads of stuff to add to it. When I bought my last house, I was moving from the box room in my parents' house, and it took quite a long time to acquire things to make it feel more homely, which wasn't the case this time. So that was great. But eventually there will be quite an extensive renovation that will start in the barn and then move to the main house. So the contents of the main house will probably be the same for quite a while yet. So I want to be as cozy as possible, but also I don't want to have to do jobs twice. I just wanted to wrap up this video by saying a big thank you to everyone who left such lovely comments on my first 2 videos, and to everybody who has subscribed to this channel already. At the time of recording, we are at nearly 9,000 subscribers, which is incredible, so thank you very much. And if you've just joined and you're interested in following my journey with renovating the cottage, with building my backyard homestead and embracing rural life, then please click subscribe and follow along, and I will be back next weekend with another video.